Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another live edition of Mic'd Up Sports, the show that goes in depth with the people who build our sports community. And as always, if you're watching this live on Facebook, we're glad you can join us. And if you're watching this on demand through our YouTube channel, we're glad you can join us there as well. My next guest is a recently committed basketball player. She will be playing Division I hoops next season at the HBCU known as Alcorn State. T'Naye Griffin played for several years at Park Center, transferred to St. Louis Park, where hopefully she'll be able to compete in her senior season. But she had a great 3 years at Park Center, hoping to make it a fourth with the Orioles of St. Louis Park. T'Naye, thanks for coming on. And if you don't mind, what has the reaction been since you made your college commitment official?
Well, the reaction from like outsiders or just
anyone, outsiders, friends, family, the people who have
a
met
lot
you
of
over the years?
people. Well, a lot of people. I just got a lot of congratulations. It wasn't really necessary. Like, oh, well, some people were like, oh wow, like I thought you'd go somewhere else or whatever. But honestly, a lot of people just congratulated me and just if they know my past, they know that that was something that really was a relief for me to just make sure that I was going to a Division I college, making the right step for myself. Other than that, it's just, another day.
Another day, another dollar.
Yeah.
Although in your case, you will save a few dollars in college tuition with that scholarship.
Right.
But take us through the process. I know you got injured midway through your junior season, and as a result, it ended prematurely. Then the pandemic comes, so you don't get much of an opportunity for AAU or Fall League like everyone is accustomed to. But how many offers did you have, and what led you to Alcorn State?
I had over 12 offers. What led me to Alcorn State was once the pandemic came and a lot of the colleges that I previously wanted to go to, our relationship wasn't building. So I was like, maybe like me and my mom should sit down, send some more film out, see what, comes to us next, And so at first, other schools reached out, built a relationship, was planning on committing somewhere else, but someone else committed before me. So then a blessing came around and Alcorn reached out and we talked. They offered me a scholarship. And from there, we just built a relationship. We talked about my high school career. We talked about what interests me to go to Alcorn. We talked about all the things necessary to, make a decision to go there for 4 years.
What were your preferences? Were you thinking about going to an HBCU from the start, or did Alcorn State just fit with what you wanted to do? But when you committed to Alcorn State, and I know HBCUs have been getting more prominence as of late in the light of George Floyd's killing and other civil rights issues. But for you, what led to your decision? What was the ultimate decider?
Okay. I didn't originally. My plan wasn't to go to a HBCU. I always dreamed of going to University of Tennessee, but things changed over the years. Sometimes you have to think realistically with things that come your way in life. And honestly, after a while, like with just watching what happened here in Minnesota with like all the riots and stuff, you just want to be. In my personal opinion, I want to be surrounded by people that are going to treat me like family no matter where I am, no matter if I'm close to home, far away from home. I just want to be able to still have that family feeling no matter where I am. And so they give me that. So I just feel like that would be a perfect fit for me no matter what whether it's moving forward with basketball, whether it's just going there to find friends, like just whatever, like just helping me through my next journey.
Now, something I've always been curious about, how did your name come about? Because up until I met you, I had not known anyone who had shared your name. And it's rare, at least for me, to meet people who have apostrophes in their first name. So I'm wondering, was there a story behind it, or was it just spur of the moment? You have a unique name, which I think is kind of cool, and it's easy for me to remember when I'm calling games. But how did you get it?
Oh, okay. Well, I always ask my parents this question, but my dad's name's Torellis, so his name starts with a T. The apostrophe, honestly, how I look at how my name is, I take it as the T for my dad's first name, which is Torellis, the apostrophe as the A, which is my mom's name, Anessa, and then you just add the Nay. That's how I look at it. My parents never really like, there wasn't like a real true definition behind my name. So really, that's how I look at it. So
So if you think of the apostrophe as an A, why did you just go with the A?
I was thinking that, but
Of course, we're just having a little fun with it. And what led you into the sport of basketball? I know your mother has actually shared her background. I know she played high school ball at Roosevelt and was once a conference rival of a good friend of mine, Latoya, and then continued to coach up until you started making your way through. And then she wanted to focus more on being a parent and a fan. Uh, but the pedigree, the foundation was there. But what was that first moment, the first memory you have that got you hooked on the sport of basketball?
second grade, just really honestly, I was put in the sport and then I just fell in love with the sport. So honestly, just year after year, just more, I just started loving it more. I was getting better. It wasn't like I wasn't progressing. So the more I progressed, the more I felt like it was for me. Um, Other than that, really, it really is in my blood. My dad used to play basketball. A lot of my family members used to play basketball. We're just a really athletic family. So honestly, I feel like it was just designed for me to play.
Over the years, what did you enjoy the most about it as you made your way up through the traveling leagues, rec ball, and then to junior high, and then to the high school circuit?
The way my basketball IQ, for me, that was like the way I watched myself grow just by watching film, just by doing all of those things. Like you see so much growth over the years, and I feel like mine has like skyrocketed. Like from traveling days to AAU to high school, I just feel like that's one of my biggest things is how fast my basketball IQ just went up, which I would give props to a lot of my coaches, like especially like my AAU coaches. I give them a lot of props for preparing me for what else happens in the game.
I remember first hearing of you playing at Park Center and the camaraderie you had with Adalia McKenzie for 3 years, up through this most recent season. That bond kept you two together through some trials and obstacles, and you two accomplished a lot before you decided to move over to St. Louis Park. But what do you recall from that first varsity game, and how do you think your friendship with Adalia McKenzie strengthened the two of you? Because as we've seen over the last few years, when the two of you are together, you've put out a lot of highlights.
Yeah. So honestly, me and her have been friends forever. Like so even when she first started playing, me and her just gradually got closer. So we already had a friendship. So going into high school, that first game, it was just like, like we got to find this chemistry. Like, yeah, we've never played with each other, all those. Well, we did for eighth grade traveling, but like, like that's not really enough transforming into high school. So, really, we both took the game so serious that honestly, I feel like that's what made it so much more easier for us to click and, compliment each other on the floor. Other than that, honestly, I think us being friends made it better. Like even when we had our fallouts, we still when we got on the court, it was just to like compliment each other, like we're here to play, we're here to win the game, all those things. So it's like that's really it for that.
And what did you enjoy most about getting that opportunity to play out that friendship for 3 years? You're getting to witness Adalia in some of her brightest moments, dropping 42 against Hopkins. And, you certainly have put in your share of highlights as well. I remember you did quite well, I think, in the first meeting with Stillwater as an example. So it was always, you had to get through one to try to stop the other. What was the most fun and exciting parts about that 3-year journey?
Honestly, the most exciting part was when we played as a team. Like honestly, like those were the most exciting, most happiest games that we like could ever have. Like after the games when everybody's happy, everybody's okay with what happened, everybody's okay with who scored how much, everybody's okay with whatever the circumstance of the games were. That was the best part. And building those relationships with my teammates, like it was so much fun. So it's like that's why it's hard that I'm gone because I built so many relationships with so many people there. But it's just like sometimes it's time for change. Like sometimes you need a little bit a push to get something different because it just wasn't for me there. But I do really always look back at the memories that I shared with a lot of them and just to see them in college now to see what they have accomplished just it's really nice. Like we're just growing up and everything's changing. So it's like that's one thing that I really loved about going there.
And they have a lot of
And T'Naye
history.
has
I
a really
started
nice
covering
mid-range shot
them
too.
when Caleb McMorris was a senior and helped Park Center win their first state title. And then I got to cover that trio of Ann Simonette, Daniel Schaub, Michaela Hayes, and Park Center became a regular stop in my broadcast schedule. And as you've seen, I still try to squeeze in a game or two when I can. But something you touched on, and I had a foreboding of sorts through conversations with your mother and other folks in the basketball community. So I know what you talked about moving forward in a different direction was something that had been weighing on you, I think, for some time before you ultimately chose to make the switch and go to St. Louis Park. So over time, you know, what was going on at Park Center where you felt like it wasn't the fit that you thought it was when you started?
Well, over the years, I just felt like there was so much adversity that we all had to adjust to, and there was just things that I felt were happening to me that weren't happening to a lot of other girls, and I think the game of basketball and a lot of other people don't. So some of those things to them seemed like I was nitpicking at whatever, but it was really just me knowing the game of basketball, trying to get you guys to see it from a different point of view, but you guys felt like I was looking at it from a whole different perspective when I wasn't. I'm just trying to get you to understand my point of view so you understand why I am the way I am and all those good things. But I just felt like they wanted me to adjust so badly. And I was like, yeah, I adjusted, over the years. I adjusted to the coaching staff, adjusted to all the girls, all of that. But there was just some things that just weren't, that some people just didn't understand about the things that were happening to me in the program that didn't happen to a lot of other girls. And so I just felt like at that point, it was just breaking me down. It was like I was in a space where I didn't want to play anymore just by going there, going to school there. Like it just wasn't, I was getting in a space that I didn't want to be in, knowing what I wanted my future to be. So honestly, I just felt like, after over the 3 years, it was like, yeah, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna leave. But it's like I love these girls. We could have won a state championship. There's so many things that could have happened with that group of girls that I played with that I just had so much faith in us over anything. And then it's just like everything turned out to not be, and it just I didn't want to put myself back in the space of going into a deep depression and going through things that just wasn't healthy for me myself. I wanted to get back to my freshman AAU season. I wanted to be that kid again. I wanted to be something different for myself. I wanted people to see, I wanted to share the spotlight with people. I don't want to just be the spotlight, and you couldn't do that there. So
How much did your injury, because I know you missed a few games in your junior season, how much did that play into your decision? Because as I understand it, when you came back, it was harder to make your way into the lineup, but I want to give you an opportunity to share your perspective. How much influence did that have?
that had a huge influence. That was honestly the last straw for me. That right there was just pure, like, I don't know the word, but it was just wrong the way she decided to handle that based off of conversations that me and her had, based on conversations that I transported over from me and Barb to me and my mom after practices to all of those things. She just didn't handle it well. I stayed positive the entire game, did what I had to do the entire game as far as being a teammate, not getting in the game, but being told that I was going to play. And I understand, I was understanding throughout the game, like, okay, she could be in coach mode. She could be, but it was just like from hearing our trainer at Park Center, that had to be the game I played in order to play in the game on Thursday, due to Centennial was the team that I got injured against. So since we won that game against Champlain Park, that had to be my first game back, because mentally the trainer and myself and even the coaches didn't want me to go into that game mentally tore down, knowing that that's the team I got injured against. So it was just a lot of things that she just didn't follow through with, a lot of things she said that were just pure disrespectful, pure wrong for someone who's honestly changed so much and developed so much for her program, and honestly helped the program, did what she could for the program. Like, it's just, I don't know that, but that played a huge part just based off of the things she said to me and my mom, and the lies that she told. And like every coach was saying different things. So it was just like, I don't, this is not, no. And it was like she was trying to make it seem like I was making it all about myself, and I wasn't. I wasn't making it all about myself, but I can't. It was hard for me to celebrate at that moment when everybody on this bench knew this was my first game back, and they were even happy for me to not even be able to get a chance to play or get a second. I wasn't asking for my starting spot back. I just came off of an injury. I need at least another week's worth of practice. But she didn't even, she didn't have that conversation with me. She just we had a conversation earlier in the week at school, which was, we're going to get you in a few rotations, but don't expect your starting spot back. I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Like, whatever. That makes the most sense. She was like, but we're going to prepare you for Thursday's game, which would have been against Centennial. But you chose to not play me and tell me that I'm not an asset to the team. And that's where everything blew up. Like, if I'm not an asset to the team, honestly, why wasn't I cut from the beginning? How is it that I was the one who had a big part in your first win of the season? How, it's just a lot of things that just didn't add up when she said those words. And she would probably say that that's not what she meant or not what she said, but my whole family was standing there to hear what she had to say. So I'm just not trustworthy of that program, and I'm happy I'm gone.
It really is a tangled web at times that you have to navigate. And I'm wondering, T'Naye, what is the toughest part about making such a big decision to transfer with only 1 year left in high school? It's something that you see at younger levels. And I have seen athletes, often for political reasons, make a move as a senior. You're getting ready, you're looking for that big college, you're fielding all those offers, and then you decide to play for a new school that you only have 1 year to get accustomed to. How difficult was that for you to make such a big decision at such a late stage of your high school journey?
It wasn't hard. It wasn't. It was so simple. It was, there's no more left in me to stay here. I don't have anything left here. The way I was treated, it just pushed me so much over the top that it's like, why would you continue to allow yourself to fall this much in a program when you can go somewhere else and be just as effective with the same amount of girls that you've played with before? So it's like, for me, it wasn't hard. It was not hard at all. And I'm sure everyone's seen it come in, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. But it wasn't hard. It was just as simple as making the change. It was just like, you're gonna have to adjust. Everywhere has problems, but some things are just different. Some things are for the better. Some change is great, some isn't. So
What you said, I think, speaks to a lot of athletes, and I think it's why you're seeing more, at least, willing to take that step. I think there are instances, and I'm not saying you went through this, but there are instances where I think players are ill prepared to handle adversity, and I think they transfer simply because someone challenged them for the first time, and they're not used to that kind of power struggle. But more often than not, I think what you're starting to see, I know parents can speak to this, and of course parents are always going to go to bat for their kids, but whether you're a high school or college or even in the pros, you see this a lot. Folks just realizing, I'm not beholden to a school. It sounded like you gave it a shot and it didn't go the way you had hoped as far as staying the course. And in those situations, I mean, you hear all the time about, well, if something doesn't fit, or if you don't find yourself meshing the way you had hoped for, then don't be afraid to branch out and
Well, and we've
go in another
had
direction.
so many, yeah. So we've had multiple conversations from me and Barb and my mom to me, Headstrom and my mom, to them knowing that I wanted change or I was leaving. So me and my mom gave those opportunities for us to be heard, for them to be heard, for things to change, for them to say things were going to change that didn't. So it's like, honestly, you kind of seen this coming. Like, there's so many things that you just seen coming that you weren't thinking were going to happen, but did.
So what was the process like finding a new school? I had heard you had considered a few options. You settled on St. Louis Park, which isn't too far away from Park Center, but you were weighing a few different options. What led you to go to St. Louis Park and put yourself, if we have a season, in the section where, of course, you played Wayzata and Hopkins at Park Center, but now you got to deal with them in your section.
Right.
Not to say that you can't do it, but it's like, yeah,
Right.
it's like, do you realize you just put yourself in one of the toughest brackets, toughest pods of the entire state?
Yeah. Honestly, what led me there the most was my other options. I didn't have chemistry with any of those girls. I knew them. I knew a lot of the girls that went there, but there was no chemistry. And so honestly, St. Louis Park, playing with Kendall, we've played AAU together since freshman year. So, or we've always played against each other. So honestly, that just felt like that was going to be the move for me. And knowing Coach Arsenio and having a built up relationship with him due to him being involved with our AAU program just put things in a different place for me. And I just felt like that was the place for me. And it honestly is. I enjoy going there even without being able to go to the building or interacting how I normally should be able to. But from going there, the times I was able to, I met a lot of good people. A lot of them know me. There's a referee that I've had for over years that works there that I have a good relationship with now. So it's like, it's just I like it a lot.
By the way, I wanted to go over some of the comments from people who have dropped remarks on the live stream relating to your story and your transfer. Sam Williams, who was known as Big Sam at KMOJ, I think said what you're saying is true. And I think he was referring to the experience of what you had to go through at Park Center and the conversations. And our old friend Latoya saying mental health first. And she has a question for you as well, T'Naye, if you don't mind responding to this. Latoya asks, who are you looking forward to playing with and against this season?
Honestly, looking forward to play against was Park Center. With that being an out of conference game, that's who I wanted to play against. That's what I was looking forward to, especially playing there. Just knowing that I've played on this court before. I know you girls. I know, I know how to maneuver with this. And I want, not in a horrible way, but just having that, like, I'm okay somewhere else. Like, I did good here, but somewhere I'm an asset somewhere else since you feel like I'm not here. So that was what I was looking forward to of playing against. Other than that was like really it. Park Center was the biggest thing for me.
What about playing with? Who are you looking forward to
with
playing alongside with? You mentioned your camaraderie with Kendall, but I think you said at the start, St. Louis Park, they've got some athletes.
Yeah. So Reagan, I love playing with her. She's so like sweethearted. She knows the game. She's very helpful. She has great basketball IQ. And then there's this girl named Chantel. She's a freshman. She came from Burnsville, I believe, and she's pretty tall. She's a really good athlete. I enjoy playing with her. There's some younger girls that are pretty good as well. They just all have such great spirits to be around. Like even when you find yourself getting in a funk, you can't. You honestly can't. Like you have your teammates to build you up to, So it's like that's honestly what I'm looking forward to. Because going to Park Center, if one person was in a funk, which this is normal, when one person's in a funk, everyone else kind of gradually picks up on that too. But to be somewhere where you see ultimate great energy, great sportsmanship, it's just like you get into that same mode of what am I in a funk for? Like so it's like a lot of those things. That's what I'm looking forward to.
And when you brought up Park Center, we'll see again what the season looks like if we have one. We're of course dealing with a pandemic that's outside our control. T'Naye and I and everyone else, we can do what we can to stay safe, but it takes a coordinated effort. That being said, how surreal would it be if there is a season and if you're able to play Park Center, how surreal would it be to go up against Adalia, someone you've grown up with for years? You know her game, she knows yours. She was in position to pass Caleb McMorris's scoring record if we do have a season at Park Center and do it in just over 3 seasons. She was among the state leaders in scoring. I don't know if the two of you would match up on the floor as far as position, but I'm thinking that would be one epic and intense showdown.
Yeah. Honestly, me and Adaya have played against each other before. We know each other's game so well, like we talk about it all the time. Literally, like we critique each other, we help each other, we do those things for each other. So it's like honestly, playing against each other, we'd probably be able to shut each other down. To be honest, just knowing that she may know my first move and I may know her first move or whatever the case may be. So honestly, it would be a pretty good game to watch and just see what the results would be of just to see.
In my head, I'm going either you two would neutralize each other or you both would go off for 40.
Right, yeah.
It might be one of those types of games. How is that friendship held up? The two of you, of course, still talking to each other, but after you made it clear you were going to move, how did she take the news? And how do you think your friendship has helped the two of you weather through obstacles on the court, off the court, in life? The two of you have been through a lot together. And so I think this is just another chapter in that friendship. But how did that help you, I guess, with the process, if that makes sense?
With her being one of my closest friends, it was something I was telling her as a friend and as a teammate to prepare her, knowing that she felt like everyone else was against her. So for me, she had to know, and she understood. Like she may not have understood everything, but she was like, whatever's best for you. Like we've had these conversations so many times that like she was very supportive, which made me more okay with being able to leave and allow my friendships to, if they're real, they'll stick around. If they're not, I'll soon realize. But other than that, we talked a lot about it, and she was just like, I want you to make the right decision. Like, I know this isn't the place for you. Like, she was just very supportive. It was never anything that she said that made me feel like she was against what my decision was, because she knew what I was capable of, and she felt like I wasn't able to do so there. So she was very aware of a lot of the things. We may not have brought everything up, but she knew, she was very aware. So.
Well, the two of you have a mutual friend in Latoya who just dropped another comment saying, both of you ladies are two amazing athletes. And Latoya, I would have to agree. Having covered them a few times, actually, both Latoya and I have seen you a few times on the floor. And I think your journey is an impressive one. Your mother told me a few things a couple nights ago after you made your commitment official, and she explained some of the obstacles and difficulties, hardships you have had to work your way through to get to this point. Now, you can feel free to share as much or as little as you want, but how do you think some of those challenges that you've had to face, how did that help you grow as an athlete and as a person to the point where you will get the chance to continue your story at a Division I HBCU?
Well, coming up, like between freshman year and those things, my challenges were breaking me down. As so they weren't, as I was younger, just the mentality that I had, it wasn't, my challenges weren't helping me get my aggression out on the floor. As I got older, you start to see so many things differently that you kind of want to turn your pain into something different, or you want to make what you have into something better for your family, or any of those kinds of things. So I really just put my challenges into making my family proud, making my dad proud, making my mom proud, just doing a lot of those things for my family, because honestly, everyone has issues, everyone has problems, and it's either you deal with them the right way or allow yourself to fall. And honestly, I'm not really in that space to allow myself to continue to fall. I feel like transferring, that was the new beginning for me. There was no way I could take steps backwards. So honestly, just moving forward with my challenges and just learning how to deal with them the proper way. And yeah.
And I understand one of your escapes when you were going through some hard times in your life is music. If the Breakdown magazine is correct, that is one of your interests. And we are getting comments left and right. So I'll get to this question today, and then I'll get to some more of our comments. And I appreciate everyone who is dropping comments on the live stream on Facebook. T'Naye, I think you've got a fan club out there. You better watch out if there's a St. Louis Park game. That autograph line might go, it might extend all the way to Park Center. But you look to music as a way to help you get through hard times, get through situations that could break you, as you spoke of. And so how has your interest in music helped you, and who are some of your go-to artists or tracks?
Well, honestly, I listen to so many different artists that it's kind of different. So like if I'm in a sad mode, I'll listen to like literally any person that I'm a person who relates to lyrics. So honestly, it doesn't necessarily matter the person who's singing or rapping or whatever. That part doesn't matter to me. It's the lyrics for me, which helps me. Before games, I don't play slow, but I'm a mellow player. I don't move at a quick pace as everybody else. So I listen to music that's my speed. So like I would listen to Michael Jackson, Tupac, Biggie. I'll listen to just things that, like that's just my swag. Like that's just how I move. So honestly, I don't like those up tempo songs to listen to before a game, because that's not me. That's not my style of play. So I feel like that's not preparing me mentally or physically. That's playing that kind of music. It's like I'm not preparing myself for this. Like I'm not gonna play how I should, listening to more up tempoed music. So when there's some games where it's like, or a day after school where we had a game where I'm kind of more in that up tempo mode, but I still can't listen to that type of music. That's not what's gonna prepare me. So honestly, and those lyrics help me a lot too. Like sometimes I relate lyrics that have nothing to do with sports to sports. So that's just me. I just relate all lyrics to what I go through, what I like, so that's why music helps me a lot.
And a couple of the comments that have come in, Derek Turner, who is one of the coaches at St. Louis Park, says, "Congrats, Tink. I'm so proud of you." And that leads into something else that I read about you. Tink was your nickname, but you said over time you have started to prefer that people call you by your first name. How did Tink come about as a moniker for you?
Well, Coach Derek Turner knows my older sister. He coached my older sister. He knows my family. So like when certain people that have been around for years say it, it doesn't faze me, like, because you know me personally. So for me, like even Coach Latoya does it too. Sometimes she calls me by my first name. Sometimes she calls me Tink. So, but she knows my family. So for me, some of those things don't faze me. But I prefer the older I get just to be called by my name, just because like some people that say Tink, it's not for you. Like it doesn't sound right. And it's like, I'm going to be thrown off. I may not answer because I'm so used to everyone knowing me by my first name. Really, people only call me Tink if they know me personally, honestly. So, yeah.
How did you get that nickname?
My parents, my grandparents, like, it's just been something that I've had since I was younger. So,
well, what you say is amusing because for me, it's the opposite. Like I'm almost afraid, I guess, to call people by their nicknames, even if they prefer it. Well, Layla Chacolas comes to mind. You know, she goes by Lele, and I'm like, no, I don't feel like I have the right to call her that yet. Yeah, and she and I became pen pals after I did a couple of Hopkins games, but it's like, no, it's like, to me, nicknames are something that you have to get into an inner circle to understand and feel comfortable to use. At least that's how I see it. So I've always viewed you as T'Naye, and that's not going to change. And then another comment that Coach Latoya dropped was the flexing bicep emoji. So that's what she thinks of you, a flexing bicep. But I think it just speaks to the connections you've had. And of course, Latoya and your mother, they know each other. As we said, they go back to their days as high school athletes. Oh, I guess I just learned that Derek Turner is at Roseville now, where didn't want to talk over her interview. We are learning up to the second information here on this podcast, folks. This is what happens when you do live streams on Facebook. People watch, and but it sounds like even if, no matter what the school, he's a part of your fan club and someone that you've gotten to know over the years. And I've always said this, I've told your mother this, and she and Latoya go back and forth over who got the best of who when they faced off at Washburn and Roosevelt. I'm still trying to find tape. You and I would probably both enjoy it.
Right.
That would be, you know what, that would be fun. You and I do a film review of your mother's games. We'll just go back and see how those two went against each other. Oh, that would be great. But these are some of the fun moments that I get, and this is why I'm glad you came on this podcast. And on that note of music, what are some other interests or hobbies of yours that people wouldn't necessarily know about when they first met you?
I like to do hair. So it's not a hidden talent, but I do. That's what I want to do when I'm older. So like, that's really like, I guess you would say it's my hidden talent. I like to do hair. Other than that, basketball, music, and hair in school. There's nothing really else. I don't have very many interests in things that like, I don't like exploring new things. I don't like doing that. As far as for hobbies, at least, I don't. So.
Now, in the sport of basketball, and this can be anyone, college, pros, family members, you name it, who were the players you looked up to in the sport of basketball?
Who do I look up to?
Yes, and something happened with your video signal. There you are.
Is that
yes.
Okay.
I was like, oh, were you trying to put a screen on me today?
So, people I look up to.
Your idols in the sport.
Tamika Catchings and Candace Parker. That's it. Kobe as well, but females, Tamika Catchings and Candace Parker. Ultimately, I could watch the same highlight of them 1,200 times a day. I swear, kid you not. Also, when I was younger, that's why I always dreamed of going to University of Tennessee. They both went there. They both played for an amazing coach. They both made it to the league and were successful. When I was younger, I don't want to go to the league now anymore. I prefer to play overseas now. But when I had the dream of going to the league, it was just like University of Tennessee seemed like such a great place to go. Like, you're gonna succeed, you're gonna get what you need out of what you want. Um, and yeah, so that's really that.
What you said is really interesting. So I'm wondering, T'Naye, if you have a breakout career at Alcorn State and find yourself in the first round of mocks, would you reconsider playing in the WNBA?
Yeah.
Okay. But I know a lot of athletes who have WNBA aspirations. I know Adalia, that is one of her dreams when I read a feature on her in the Girls Basketball Hub website. Other players that I've covered, which makes me feel old, Taylor Hill. I don't. I wasn't surprised when she turned pro because I thought she would. Paige Beckers, I've got a feeling we're going to hear about her for a long time. But your first option would be to go pro overseas instead of the WNBA. So why is that?
Just because honestly, from over the years, knowing that women don't get paid as much, also that kind of plays a big role. Just because I have so many ambitions that I want in life, so for me, I just feel like overseas you make more money. Um, that's ultimately really it. Like, your pay is different. I don't care for fame, honestly, and I feel like being in the WNBA comes with so much fame that I'm not really into. Like, I don't care too much to have fame because everything else speaks for itself. So yeah.
That is an interesting take. And while I will say the WNBA is starting to make progress as far as compensation, I think incidents like Breanna Stewart tearing her Achilles overseas may have been the tipping point where the league, and every league is like this, not just the WNBA, when you try to throw money out there, when the players ask for it, they all of a sudden turn tight, it seems like, oh, but that's a whole nother discussion. But I feel that was a wake-up call where if you guys don't pay attention and address this, you're going to have more players reconsider, because like you said, the WNBA carries the most prestige in terms of exposure, but the payouts still not the same as overseas leagues. But I think you're the first who said your first choice would be to go overseas. So I think that is interesting. And I know a few players who went that route. Caleb McMorris, actually, a fellow Park Center athlete, comes to mind, where she went the overseas route, still does, and is making things work. What are some of the other ambitions? You mentioned you have some that you would like to pursue. What are some of those ambitions that you hope to augment with your basketball resume?
I want to be rich. I want to take care of my family. Like, I don't want them to have to want for nothing. I want to just make everybody proud. Like, that's just that. Overall, like, over the years and the things that I've been through, I just kind of want the best for everyone in my family. Not that I don't for people outside of my family, but just for the sacrifices that my parents have made, that my aunts have made, uncles, all the siblings, like everything. I just want them to never have to want for anything. Like, I just want everything to be okay. And so that's really my ultimate goal. Like, I just want everything to be back okay. So.
And earlier, when you spoke of Tamika Catchings and Candace Parker, I've heard Candace Parker's name get dropped when I ask athletes about the players they looked up to. You're the first to list Tamika Catchings as well. And Tamika, a sentimental favorite when she was in the WNBA, and I was there when she got her one and only title in 2012. And I guess I was there when Candace got her title in 2016. But what is it about those two that made an impression on you?
They work so hard. Like, even when I have my moments of not feeling like it or just being lazy or whatever the case may be for myself, you tend to think like, well, you see what they did to get to where they are. They worked hard, like extremely hard to get to where they are. So for me, it's like to see somebody do that, it just makes you want that just as much as they did, honestly. So I just kind of look to them as, if I do what she did, there's no way possible that I'm not going to be successful. Or there's no way I can't get what I want out of playing basketball or whatever it is. Like, they just work tremendously hard. Like, so.
And they certainly did. Well, Candace Parker is still getting after it, and Tamika moving to a front office role, and both have amazing stories. Like you said, they played for Tennessee, played for Pat Summitt. In case you didn't know who we were talking about, I think most of you do, but you never know. And I know when Tamika was a player, she and I would always say hello, real friendly. And Candace, you may know this, a player that Minnesota Lynx fans love to hate when the Lynx and Sparks were at the heat of their rivalry, but it was hard not to respect her game and what
Right.
she did and her versatility, because at first I'm thinking folks were stretching it when they say she could play all 5 positions, but then I'd watch her over the years with Los Angeles and it's like, yeah, she really can. I think she has her preferences down low, but she can bring the ball up, she can facilitate, and she can do it all, which goes along with this modern trend of taller basketball players. I forget who I had. Recently, Cassie Karen at Holy Angels, where they weren't sure about making her the point guard because in the old days, folks like yourself would be seen as too tall to play that position. And Candace Parker and others are saying, no, you can be lanky and run the floor too.
Yeah. So.
Something I'm curious, T'Naye, and answer this however you'd like, but throughout your basketball career, what would you say is the most exciting moment and the most embarrassing moment?
The most embarrassing moment is losing to a team that you should never lose to. That's the worst thing that can happen to you, I feel like. Like, honestly, just watching a team outwork you when you shouldn't lose, that's so embarrassing. Because then it's like, after the game, these girls aren't even as talented as us. So how could we let this happen? That, I feel like that is probably the most embarrassing thing ever. Like, that's so embarrassing.
I have a hunch as to what game you might be talking about, but or are you speaking in more general terms?
There's so many games. I could pick one from freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. I could pick a game from any season, no matter what. It's embarrassing to lose to a team that you shouldn't. Like, that's just the worst.
It's interesting you answered that way, because usually where I go with is like a moment where something silly that happened, but you're really showing your competitive side there, because no, I can understand that. You go up against a team, we call it a trap game sometimes. You think you've got the upper hand and then they sneak up and bite you. I know.
Because it's like, honestly, this is what happens with everybody, even myself. You go into the game, you don't play as if you're playing against a Hopkins. You play as if you're playing against these kids. Like, they don't want to beat you as well. Like, they don't want to beat you. Like, they're not playing some of the best kids in the class. So I feel like that was our mindset. We would always go into games just thinking like, oh, we got this down pack. Like, we beat them before. So it's like, that's just embarrassing. Like, because then it comes out somehow that you guys thought you had this win in your pocket and you didn't. So it's just embarrassing.
Was that the sentiment? Because one of the games I'm thinking of that might fit this description was when Spring Lake Park upset you in sections in your sophomore season, and that was one of the shockers. And to be fair, there's usually more than one, so it wasn't like you were the only one that came in as the favorite and got knocked off. But every time it happens, it's surprising. I think it speaks to how much the parity has grown, where you have to take teams seriously even in early rounds of playoffs, or teams in the conference that you don't think match up well against you.
Right.
It makes for a greater game, but it's a sucky feeling, like you said, when you're on the wrong end of that upset.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be. Like, it's just embarrassing.
But I think, yeah, last year, well, you didn't have to worry about Spring Lake Park in the sections last year. Uh, and of course, we were able to right the ship. What was the most exciting moment, though? Because that I haven't heard from you yet.
The most exciting moment was a game winner for me. Making that game winner was like, I never get like, I'm the type of player that I don't get excited when I block somebody's shot. Those things don't phase me because I feel like those are the things I'm here to do. So when I made that game winning shot, knowing that within seconds we were going to lose, that it took so much out of me. Like, it was just such an exciting moment, knowing that my teammates were just as excited as I was. Like, it just, I don't know, it was just, that was a really exciting moment. Like, so yeah.
Which game are you referring to?
SCMA.
Was it this past season?
My junior season, yeah. It was the first game of the season
at the tip-off. Okay, yep, that's right, because they had a Friday session. That's interesting that a block doesn't pump you up. Well, a game-winning shot, I think just about anyone, that's what you dream about, right? Getting that opportunity to make the game winner.
Well, and also being known for your jump shot just made it so much more for me. Like, just knowing that it was something that a lot of people talked about was my jump shot. So to have the game winner be my jump shot, it just was like, wow, like, it just felt good. It was a good moment. I watched the video all the time.
And the best part when you watch that video, it always goes in, right?
Every time. It's like you don't have to worry about anything.
So is that something you'll go to if you run into another depression episode or something? If you need a pick me up, you just pull up that clip and hey, it goes in.
Yeah.
But no, I can attest to that. Not personally, because I don't have much athletic ability. I would get laughed off the court, but I've been on hand to see some game winners. Whether it was like a half court shot in one case, or last season I did a game in Maple Grove where this kid who had scored 4 points all season comes in at overtime and hits a corner three to win it. One of the most exciting moments of her life. And her parents said that was the first time she was ever interviewed. And it's like, well, you make a game winner. I'm like, I can't, I'm not going to let that go by unnoticed.
Right. That's definitely what's going to happen.
So today, just be warned, if you do that again and I'm on hand for it, I might strike you up for that post-game interview.
Okay.
Now, earlier in the conversation, you spoke of Coach Latoya, Coach Derek, people who had been with you through AAU or high school or both. And no matter where they are, they're still part of your support network. How crucial has that been for you in those tough moments where you said you were feeling down, you were battling depression, your mind wasn't focused on basketball as much, but you know, your mother has spoken highly of you, both as a coach and a parent. Latoya has always said nice things when the two of us get together and do your games, or even in conversation at other games. Derek Turner, you've touched a lot of people already in this basketball journey. How crucial is that support network when you go through difficult situations?
It shows that they see what the things that I go through, knowing that I'm trying, or knowing that it may be hard, because they know me well enough. So they may see my frustrations or whatever, but they always they understand, they listen, but they always tell me what could be done better, or something that I can do to change, or, just those kind of things. So that helps a lot, just knowing that they see those things and are understanding to it and are able to help me through those things. That's like the biggest thing.
With your experience, what would you say to others who go through difficult situations, whether it's in the household or family, or when you're deciding whether or not to stay the course at one school, transfer to another? We see a lot of athletes transferring now, and while the autonomy, go ahead.
I would honestly say don't allow yourself, if you feel yourself getting into a space where this isn't what you want to do anymore and you feel undervalued, go somewhere else. Literally go somewhere else. Don't sit for 3 years thinking things can get better when they don't. And then, like, just don't do it. It hurts like really bad. Like, it's not something that I really would wish upon anyone to have to go through, especially when you have dreams of doing something, and then the fact that you can lose the love from it just by how you're treated by someone. I do not wish that upon anybody. So for me, I just feel like if you have the upper hand on leaving because you feel mistreated or things aren't going how they should, leave, exit, left, quick. Like, don't allow yourself to sit there and think, oh, I could get better, this could happen. No, you don't know that for sure. And you don't know for sure that it's going to be better anywhere else. But would you rather sit here with knowing things potentially won't change and going somewhere else knowing that things could be better? Like, I don't know. Don't.
And to me, I think that's one of the most difficult aspects in making that decision. And not just in basketball, but in life, is that fear of the unknown. We're always worried about things that maybe are outside our control in that regard, because we want to feel like we have autonomy. And to some extent, you never will. Part of that journey is making choices and living with the results, positive or negative. So as you said, you had no idea. You still have no idea what will happen at St. Louis Park
Right.
when the season gets underway. You spoke of the chemistry you have with some of the athletes there, but we have yet to play a game. We would normally have started the season by now. I think St. Louis Park, they do some of those tip-off events, so you would have been in full swing. We're all stuck in waiting mode, but I think, like you said, that's something worth noting, weighing what could happen if you stick around versus what could happen if you try something else and maybe it doesn't work out, but it still presents a learning opportunity.
Right. So.
Now I'm curious, are you prepared? I don't want to say for the culture shock, but Alcorn State, all the way down in that little town known as Lorman, Mississippi, much warmer than it is up here in the winter. Are you prepared for that Mississippi life next year?
Yeah, I'm ready. Honestly, I'm ready. I don't have anything against going. I'm ready. I'm ready to start something new. I'm just so ready. I don't have just ready. I have family down there. So honestly, my assumption is that if anything was to get hard or if I had a culture shock per se, go to my family, I would say. Like, other than that, I'm just really ready to go.
What are you most excited about getting an opportunity to represent Minnesota? You hear all the time about how we've become a basketball state with the number of recruits we send to Division I schools around the country. You will get to add your name to the list of athletes who attended HBCU schools. I know Delayla Chicolas, who we spoke of, is at Hampton. One of her former teammates, Ashley Bates, did quite well at Hampton, Big South Player of the Year. You may have an opportunity to get your name on some of those lists in the SWAC or elsewhere, but what excites you the most about representing Minnesota basketball and getting a chance to continue that journey and get that experience of an HBCU?
It feels good. It feels like you feel so much more accomplished. It's like, wow, after all of this time, I get to do what everyone else has got to do as far as like moving on in life and just being more successful, having more adulthood, I should say, like being more involved in adulthood, just having that success itself is just something that I'm ready for. Especially as far as coming out of Minnesota, like now that we are more of a sports state, like it's like something that you really should be proud of, like honestly. So. Yeah.
And no matter the school, it is a big moment. And so when people make that announcement, I know I thought it was cool that you're getting the chance to play D1. I don't ask parents or coaches about offers because I want to give athletes the space to make that announcement. And I don't want to put any pressure on them because there's a lot of factors that weigh into a college decision, as you spoke of, and just about every other athlete I've talked to. When you feel several offers, you spoke of having a dozen, and some of the top recruits probably have eons and baskets of letters. So it's a very taxing thing when people are kitting up your phone. But for you, you didn't get a chance to play in the second half of the year. So I don't know what you were going through at the time, but I can imagine it would be scary. Here you are trying to make an impression to play at the next level, and now you're sidelined. So when I heard that you found a school and that there was somebody out there who was still willing to take you in and make you a part of their program, I was excited, and I wouldn't mind if we hear more about you at Alcorn State. T'Naye, is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't touched on in this journey? I know we've covered a lot, but what are some other things that you would like to say if you had the chance?
No, I don't have very much to say. I just want my actions to speak for themselves at this point. There's like nothing much you can say. It's at this point, it's like you have to prove people who doubted you wrong. Honestly, that's like it. I don't have nothing much to say. Like I'm just kind of ready. Like I'm ready for this season, if there's one, to go to college, just to move forward in life, just to know what's next for me. So, probably.
Well, I will leave you with this because I am curious to hear what you have to say about it. How do you think your journey, your accomplishments, your status as a future Division I athlete, you spoke of the role models in the professional ranks and the nurturing you got from your coaches. So you had a lot of people help you get to where you are, even when things weren't always sunshine and rainbows. How do you see yourself as a role model for others who may come across your story and learn about some of the difficulties you've had to overcome to get to this point? How do you think your presence, your journey, your success, how could that make you a role model for the next generation of athletes and leaders?
Okay, so as far as like for younger girls, I feel like from the traveling program, like of the kids that go to Park Center that watched me play there, when they see if they are to see my transfer and those things, I just, even without them knowing the history of why I left there, I just want them to know that wherever you are, you work hard for what you want. Honestly, like just showing them that if you work, you can have what you want. Like you can be that kid. Like, so that's really all I got. Just to stay, like, just staying positive, honestly, like that itself is going to be helpful to be a role model. Just knowing that, not letting people see your frustrations anymore, not allowing people to know like everything that you're dealing with on the floor or off the floor. So.
I certainly wish you a lot of success, and I can't wait to see you back out there on the floor, knocking down those jumpers and doing what you do.
All right. Thank you so much.
T'Naye Griffin of St. Louis Park. Hopefully we will get to see her on the floor this season. But if not, you can make a trip to Lorman, Mississippi next season and watch her play for the Alcorn State Braves out in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Yeah.
The SWAC, which I find amusing because Mississippi is not in the southwestern portion of the country, but I digress. One way or another, though, she'll get a chance to continue playing basketball, and I hope it's a great journey, much success. And if you want to be a guest on a future episode of this podcast, just hit us up on social media at the Mike Peden at Twitter or Instagram. All you need is a story, and we'd be happy to share it. And I also want to thank everyone who left their comments on our Facebook live stream. It makes the conversation that much more fun. Feel free to drop some more in our next live stream. But until then, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
All right.